Hey, it's Fastus here. We're just going to have a quick tutorial on advanced combat using the add-on and the kit. It's not extremely advanced, but more advanced than the base. So we'll have a look at what we've got. We've got a little NPC. He's just decided to buff himself, and if we do enough damage to him, he will heal himself below 50%. Other than that, it'll be very annoying to kill because this doesn't really think too hard about it. He basically always heals himself. When this buff runs out, he'll rebuff himself, and that's basically the AI. Now if we look at it in BehaviorDesigner, we've got a couple of examples: ComplexBattleMonsterAI and VeryComplexBattleMonsterAI. It's two different ways of doing this sort of thing. All of the rest of the systems are standard for the behavior tree, but what we've added into the attack is a quick selector, and we've got a couple of new actions. So we have our standard attack target action, which is a standard attack target, and we've put a sequence in here that uses a behavior designer probability. So there's a 25% chance, and this is a new task called use skill. So there's a 25% chance in this combat system that the monster will use a skill. Now this use skill is the standard random use skill from the kit. So if you look at the monster, if we can find him, and you look at the character database monster type, there's a variety of monster skills in that. So the kit's behavior designer action will use these as normal, use the standard kit methodology, use it on certain rates of chance of happening, whether it happens on hit points or anything like that. So that is a random action. So if we look at use skill, it basically just is a random skill. The action use skill also will take a skill name. So if you haven't selected random, you can target a specific skill name, but the monster itself must have that skill name in its skill tree, otherwise it won't work. It will also handle the levels, etc. Now the AI that we just watched was the complicated version of this, or the very complicated version of this. And in that, it has your standard attack target. There's a new action or new conditional called check monster buff state, so you can pass it a buff or a base skill name. It checks to see whether that base skill name has been used to apply a buff to the player or the monster. If it, in this case, it's a success. If it has, we wanted to invert it. So if it hasn't, we have a 25% chance of casting the skill name strength up. After that, the second check it does is, am I hurt? We're using the standard check monster state. Are our hit points less than %50? If that is a success, we then move on to cast a base skill called heal me, which is one that I just added. It's essentially the heal skill targeting yourself. If none of these sort of events occur, obviously we just attack target with a timeout. This bug's been fixed, so the attack target skill basically targeted player and timeout, how long it attempts to attack the player before it gives up and returns a failure. Sometimes it might need to move into a position, or the player's wandering around, or it needs to turn. So these are complicated methods, or more complicated methods of doing AI. Essentially you can just duplicate the kit AI by using this random skill, and then doing all of your changes in the base character skill database. But if you want to be a bit more sort of inventive, you can target multiple skills here, base them on whether a buff exists or not, whether the character or the monster is hurt or not, the distance to the character. So we have we should have a conditional check whether we're targeting the player within range of the player. So we could We could change it so that when we're within range of the player, then attack, or a variety of other sort of things depending on your imagination. So this is just a more complicated version of your combat tree. There's not really much else I can say about it. That's about it. Any questions, please comment below and I'll see what I can do. Thanks.